Mariah used to have 3 sons with Dez and Future allegedly. Like, this is going crazy right now on Twitter. They're talking about she used to always be third willing little baby and Jada, and Dez and Future. Not to mention, that's the only reason why Thug got with her, because he thought that he was going to be able to have his way with these other ladies also while messing with her, because she'd be on it. That's the type of timer she'd be on. Just when we thought Thug and Mariah were locked in, Future leaks proof he smashed Mariah, and Thugger goes into rage mode. Just like that, Thug's name, pride, and relationship were all getting dragged into the same storm. Thug was already in a vulnerable position, dealing with legal pressure, public scrutiny, and the emotional weight of being locked up while his relationship played out in real time on the internet. But now he's also got Future to worry about. This dude has always had a long-standing reputation for rapping in a way that blurs the line between personal experience and general storytelling. He rarely calls names, but he knows music. Exactly how to drop lines that sound specific enough to get people talking. Like that time he had Kodak call him on IG Live, in order to make some things clear in terms of what is what. This music type of is why some started connecting dots, saying that Future might have smashed Mariah, perhaps even while Thug was behind bars. I mean, if you think about it, Future built an entire career on emotionally messy, relationship-heavy music. Not every lyric is a diary entry, but once fans decide a line is about someone specific, especially when emotions are already high, that music, interpretation becomes its own kind of truth online. People started tracking all of Future's recent moves, and suddenly we got a shift in the tone. Now, we didn't see any major Future moves, apart from the fact that he's going to be on stage in Jeddah. But maybe that's the whole point. He's been awfully quiet, kind of like when you do a cleanup and want to stay low. Now, let's talk about the leak itself. While we haven't seen music, yet peeps online have been going crazy with stories about Future being involved in a little love triangle with Thug and Mariah. Maybe it's because this relationship between Thug and Mariah seemed kind of shaky in the last few months. Maybe it's something else. But that's just how it goes in this world of hip-hop. Leaks almost never move directly. Usually what happens is information starts circulating through industry circles, private conversations, or people loosely connected to situation. Someone screenshots music, someone hints, and bloggers pick it up. Suddenly, a rumor feels official. Even though no one with real authority has spoken, Future knows this all too well. Not to mention, when you got two guys like Thug and Future who don't just exist in the same genre, these two share history, overlap in circles, and represent a certain code in hip-hop culture. Rumors start flying all the time. And once that perception set in, everything else started to feel like fallout instead of coincidence. Now, let's talk Mariah and Thug, because yes, they did get engaged just the other day. But even that ain't really what it seems. To really understand why this whole situation with Future smashing Mariah hits such a nerve, you gotta rewind and look at how Thug and Mariah even became a thing in the first place. This wasn't some random industry fling that popped up overnight, almost quiet by celebrity standards. Music, at least in the beginning, they first started getting linked toward the end of 2021. Nothing dramatic, no big announcement, no soft launch caption spelling it out. People just started noticing them together, courtside at NBA games, popping up in the same club, spaces, showing up around each other a little too often for it to be coincidence. Music, fans peeped the chemistry before either of them said a word. Then came the moment that really blurred the line between art and real life. Young Thug appearing as Mariah's groom in her Walk It In video. That's when people were like, all right, so we're not just imagining this. Even though neither of them officially sat down and said, yes, we're together. By the end of that year, blogs and fans were already treating them like a couple. At that point, the label didn't even matter. The visuals said enough. But everything changed when Thug got locked up once the YSL RICO case hit in 2022. The relationship instantly moved into a completely different category. This wasn't about dates, vibes, music, or aesthetics anymore. This was about pressure. And Mariah didn't fade into background. If anything, she stepped forward. She showed up to court. She spoke his name publicly. She kept him visible when it would have been easier to stay quiet. She posted about him, talked about him in interviews, and made it clear she was standing by him while the whole world was speculating about his future. There were stories about gifts he arranged for her from behind bars, balloon music setups, little gestures that felt symbolic, like him trying to stay present, even from a cell, from the outside looking in. It painted a powerful picture. A lot of fans saw Mariah as music, his anchor during the darkest stretch of his life. And in hip-hop culture, that kind of loyalty gets respected heavy. That's a big reason people were rooting for them. The relationship fit that classic ride or die storyline that fans love. The successful woman holding it down while her man is facing serious odds. To a lot of people, it didn't feel like clout chasing or convenience. It felt real. She showed it in her songs. 2. Dropping songs and lyrics that fans swore were about Thug turning her pain, loyalty, and hope into art. So, you can only imagine what Thug coming home meant for these two. Redemption, growth, love, surviving the storm. All of that got wrapped into one narrative. But then reality started cracking the fantasy. While Mariah was publicly 10 toes down, leaked jail calls started telling a very different story from Thug's side. Audio surfaced of him joking about calling multiple women a day, laughing about music, talking to 10 girls, even admitting that he had cheated on Mariah shortly before his arrest. And once people heard that, the entire dynamic shifted. Suddenly, the emotional imbalance was kind of hard to ignore. On one side, you had Mariah showing up, defending him, standing in the fire for him. On the other side, you had Thug's own words suggesting his attention wasn't nearly as focused. Music, whether those calls were just a joke or taken out of context, almost didn't matter anymore. Once they were out, the damage was done. Fans started looking back at everything differently. Music, moments that once felt romantic now felt one-sided. And a lot of people began asking uncomfortable questions about self-respect, boundaries, and how much someone should sacrifice for love, especially when the other person isn't fully present. That's what made this relationship so complicated. It wasn't music, just messy for drama's sake. It was messy because it played out in public during a legal crisis with real music emotions attached. Even without Future entering the picture, the foundation already felt shaky to many. What made these leaks hit harder than your average celebrity music? Breakup wasn't just what was said, it was how real it sounded. This was raw phone audio with no filter. Just young Thug talking like he didn't expect the world to hear it. In one of the most talked about calls, Thug admits that he cheated on Mariah the day before his May 2022 music arrest. What made it worse was that before that admission even came out, there had already been drama brewing after another woman posted pictures from his condo. At first, Thug tried to frame the music situation like it was old news, something from the past that didn't really matter. But once the audio leaked, it became clear that it wasn't old at all. It was fresh. That changed everything. All in all, the calls made it clear that mentally and emotionally, Thug wasn't fully present in the relationship the way music fans believed Mariah was. Eventually, the pressure boiled over and Thug went public with an apology. He posted a long message directly addressing Mariah, admitting he was wrong and apologizing for what he put her through. He said she deserved better and asked people to leave her alone, calling her innocent and making it clear that the backlash shouldn't be aimed at her. On the surface, it sounded heartfelt, but the apology didn't end the conversation. It intensified it. Shortly after, he followed up with another message telling people to stop harassing her and later pushed back against the wider criticism surrounding the jail calls altogether. At one point, he even framed the backlash as something that could hurt the rap community as a whole, positioning himself as too important to be torn down by internet outrage. That shift in tone didn't sit right with everyone. Some believed the apology was genuine, a man owning up to his mistakes under extreme pressure. Others felt it was pure damage control. By the time all of that settled, the relationship no longer felt like a love story, and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. Every rumor that came after, including the Future speculation, landed on top of an already bruised narrative. For a long time, the idea of young Thug and Mariah getting engaged lived more in vibes than in actual events. It wasn't like there was a countdown or a public plan. It was more that everything around them pointed in that direction. Mariah would talk in interviews about wanting marriage. Their visuals leaned heavy into couple symbolism. Songs, music videos, captions. All it felt like they were telling fans, this is endgame. Just wait until he comes home. So, for a while, the engagement talk felt music, like a future thing. Something that would make sense once the legal storm passed and life slowed down. Then that concert happened during Young Thug's hometown Hero Young Thug and Friends benefit concert in Atlanta. The energy shifted in real time. Mid-show, Thug stopped the music. The screen lit up with the words, "Will you marry me?" And he dropped to one knee right there in front of a screaming crowd. He handed Mariah a big ring. The cameras caught every angle, and she responded with something along the lines of, "Guess I'm getting married," before sealing it with a kiss on stage. But once the clips hit the timeline and the screaming died down, people started asking questions. The ring was the first thing everyone zoomed in on. The town started debating if that ring looked like something that had been planned months in advance, or something that came together fast after a year full of chaos. And a lot of people read that diamond as more than romance. It felt like a peace offering a reset button. After the concert, the absence of denial spoke loud. Proposal clips got reposted. Industry peers dropped congratulations. Neither of them rushed to clarify or walk anything back. Still, not everybody was celebrating. The timeline gave some folks an emotional whiplash. In the same year, people watched leaked jail calls expose cheating, saw public apologies, heard Thug himself confirm breakups, and then suddenly saw an on-stage proposal in front of thousands of people, and that made some people uncomfortable. Mariah had been very open about wanting marriage, and she had built an image around holding Thug down to the RICO case. Some fans worried the engagement was happening before the hurt was fully addressed. Whether this was a calm mutual step forward or a high-stakes public band-aid meant to prove they survived the scandal. None of that means the love wasn't real, but it does. Explain why the engagement didn't land as pure fairy tale for everyone watching. And once engagement entered the mix, any new rumor, especially one involving Future messing with Mariah, was always going to hit 10 times harder. Now, it wasn't just about cheating or loyalty. It was about whether this whole chapter was built on solid ground or on momentum that was moving too fast to stop. Music. When Future's name started getting dragged into conversations about Mariah, it landed heavy. And that's because Thug and Future share history. The kind that fans treat like brotherhood, not just business. These two go way back. Early collabs, shared come-ups, Atlanta music roots. Tracks like My Everything put them in the same orbit early on, but their relationship was never simple. There were moments where it felt competitive, even tense. Music back in the mid-2000s, fans watched things get awkward with Metro booming music tweets, subliminal shots, and Thug's infamous "I'm Michael Utica" line that made people think the friendship, music, might be cooked for good. But that's the thing, it wasn't. Instead of letting ego end it, they doubled back, reconciled, and eventually locked in harder than before. Songs like Who and Relationship Music turned into fan favorites, and the Super Slimy era cemented them as a duo representing Atlanta at the highest level. Over time, Thug stopped talking about Future like a rival and started calling him his brother. The story went from two alphas who tolerate each other to these dudes are family. So, when a rumor pops music, up saying Future fooled around with Mariah, it gets read as a potential line crossing inside the inner circle, especially with the context in mind. Mariah isn't just some random woman attached to Thug's name. She was the one showing up, speaking out, and holding him down when things were at their darkest. So, inserting Future into that story, music, line, even hypothetically, felt like someone stepping into a space that was supposed to be off limits. But in hip-hop culture, there's an unspoken rule book. You don't deal music with the main woman of someone you call your brother, especially not when she was writing for him while he was fighting cases and losing freedom. Violating that code isn't just romantic drama. It's a respect issue. That's why even suggestion of it caused so much noise. However, Future didn't jump out to deny anything. But if you know Future's brand, that's kind of on script. He's always moved with mystique. He rarely addresses dating rumors unless they threaten his legal situation or his bag. Music. Silence has always been part of how he operates. Still, in this situation, silence didn't calm things down. When everything else was already public, the lack of a clean denial left a vacuum, not to music mention. The quieter Future stayed, the louder the rumor felt. And for Young Thug, whether the story was true or not almost became secondary. Music. What mattered was what it looked like to fans. The idea that someone he calls his brother might have crossed a line during the most fragile period of his life. That's not something you just shrug off. That's why this rumor hit different. Not because it was confirmed, but because of what it implied about loyalty, about respect, about whether the bonds people celebrate. In music, actually hold up when real life gets messy. And once that narrative took hold, it didn't need proof to cause damage. It just needed belief.